Truth and Reconciliation Commission was created because of the lawsuits that the survivors of residential schools took against the government and the churches. And there were a number of grounds of claims. One was loss of culture, loss of language, so cultural genocide in effect. In addition to that, a number of the survivors had experienced actual physical and sexual abuse while in the schools, and they had suffered because of that. And so all of those claims were rolled into their lawsuits. Eventually those lawsuits were rolled into one large class action, which incorporated about 60,000 claims from across the country. There was a clear environment of hostility and demeaning behavior on the part of those who ran the schools to try to force young Indigenous children to believe that the cultures, the people, the communities that they came from were inferior, were heathens, that their families were savages, and that there was no sense or hope of trying to continue their Aboriginal identity, and that they should look to trying to be like the non-Indigenous children of society and to assimilate. And what we found was that, first of all, that whole issue of assimilation failed on a massive scale because none of the children who left the schools were able to enter Canadian society in a meaningful way. But in addition to that, because of the large number of children who were taken away from their families and the way that they were housed, the schools themselves became centers of abuse, physical abuse to begin with. We know that children were punished physically just for speaking their language, so for things that they would never have been punished for back in their home environments. But that also led to sexual abuse in large numbers as well, and sexual abuse of a very significant nature. The first thing I want people to understand is that when they look around at Canadian society and they see the dysfunction in Aboriginal people and they see a large number of Aboriginal people living in a homeless situation, they need to understand that that there are reasons why that is the way things are. I think we don't know the extent to which the missing Indigenous women may have been victimized by the international sex trade. I think we don't know the extent to which Aboriginal women have been victimized by people with whom they're in a relationship versus those with whom they are not in a relationship, who have been the victims of stranger violence. So I think there's lots of public information that still we have yet to determine. And when the government has said, and government spokespeople have said, that we know everything that we need to know, then I think the onus is upon them to tell the public what we know.